what's the story, Mark?
So, would you like a background or kind of
Yeah,
just where am
sure.
I
Sure.
at
Yeah.
right now? The
Yeah.
background is very similar, um, although at one time felt very special. The more I hear other people's stories, it's very similar and it's not
Yeah.
special at all.
Yeah.
And I realized just, well, let me jump back. I had a
Okay.
glimpse
Okay.
in 2005,
Okay.
and it came from what I thought was surrendering to a panic attack. I had had a couple before,
Okay. Yeah.
and my mind, um, previous to this glimpse, opening, whatever, I was having a conversation, a dialogue in my mind of, do I talk to my parents about maybe I'm going crazy
Yeah.
because um, insomnia forever.
Yeah.
The energy behind the thoughts weren't just like it was a combination of it would never stop planning
Yeah.
from that would be like a go-to from tiny things to future things that weren't even happening to
Yeah.
really self-sabotage,
Mm-hmm.
hateful thoughts. And that was 2005. Didn't know, had this opening, amazing, took snapshots of it, like I've heard
Yeah.
Angelo say,
Yeah.
and then creates the story
Okay.
of what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2008, I began drinking again, and that automatically came with this idea of the unworthiness. You'll have to be completely sober. That's how it came.
Yeah.
You got this glimpse when you were sober for a period of time, and it just started winding and winding. Fast forward to 2021, I left my job. It was just very triggering. As
Yeah.
analysis, applied behavior analysis, all mind stuff. And I left my job. I ended up getting a job to where I'm a
Yeah.
caregiver, lots
Okay.
of time to meditate. I in 2022 about got Simply Always Awake,
Okay.
the book, and that really got me looking at beliefs and how to kind of get into it. So I have been doing inquiry
Mm-hmm.
and meditation and in the last, I'll say, 2 months to 6 weeks, I was just really like, it's just the Groundhog's Day is now getting to where there's nothing out there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing out there that I want. And I don't mean like, not like in a negative way, but I'm truly
Mm-hmm.
like, I could try to say, yeah, a relationship. I want another girlfriend that will, and it's
Yeah.
just like, of course not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And it won't be a career. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And so I have been doing tried more of the one pointed approach where I would just set my mind on that, like, and whether it was who am I or what is mu
Mm-hmm.
or something like, that. And I can't say anything. It's like, it feels like it's almost brought me to a place to where, oh, this is what normal people,
Okay.
like the
Yeah.
thoughts going through aren't like
Yeah.
yanking me to where it's like, oh my gosh, something has to be done about these thoughts because they're violent thoughts because I'm
Okay.
angry from repressed, but
Yeah.
so where I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like that energy is starting to die down to where I'm almost even having times where like, that's not true. That's a story.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a couple of your one-on-ones and
Okay.
similar stuff. So I just with no expectation, and when all this started in 2005, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
well, I have to go to India. How do I get in touch with Eckhart? He's the only one. And that's just where the ignorance was. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And now I see all what's available, and it's like, well, why wouldn't I meet with somebody?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I recognize I don't know what
Okay.
I don't know
Okay.
everything. So that's kind of it.
Awesome. Very similar story, Um, what's your belief?
My belief is that this sense of separation.
Okay. What are you without that belief?
Well, uh, not to be combative or anything. The mind says an individual walking around just not thinking that he's separate at the time.
But that's another belief, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's between a belief and non-belief?
This is, I heard this, you said this before, and this, say that again. What is between?
What is in between belief or no belief?
Nothing.
What's even nothing? Or it's not even nothing. So in this empty space where there's no belief or non-belief, what is in between a self or no self, or individual or no individual?
Say that again.
Yeah, what is in between, like a self or no self, or a individual or no individual?
Oh,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. So is there any problem here?
No.
No. Okay. So what's here then? What if you can't go to the past or you can't go to the future? Because that's what just thoughts are. What seems to be appearing in this directness?
Just this. Just
Yeah.
the room.
Yeah. What if you can't label anything that you see? What if you can't tag or label or name anything that you feel? There's this directness, like it's almost like a subtle hum, like a quietness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the first time in a long time, so this whole thing has almost been like the story like has gone backwards.
Yeah.
When that first initial awakening happened,
Yeah.
for a while after, like it was, I knew there was just a silence there, and if the end
Yeah.
of a busy day, I just went and I knew the silence was there, so there was no trying to get rid of
Yeah.
anything. It was a dying down,
Yeah.
and then over time, just getting so lost.
Yeah.
It's been trying to get rid of, um, and not even doubt, but just disbelief that it's even there.
Yeah.
It's gone so far.
Yeah. It's
And
it's
so
always
I heard Angelo say doubt and all these little things I had just never, and I was like,
yeah.
doubt. And that led me to I'm beyond doubt. Like I'm
Yeah.
so lost that it's almost disbelief.
Yeah.
So, but now that was rambling, but gotten back to like, I sense that now, like,
Yeah.
and I couldn't before, like,
Yeah.
that's the constant,
Yeah.
the silent,
It's always been here.
always.
Yeah. What's between doubt and no doubt? This. It can't really be said as a word. You can't even really call it silence, isn't it? But we have to name it somehow.
Okay, so something pops in my mind that I'd like
Yeah.
to
Yeah, go
ask you
ahead.
about. And it's a thought that will completely trip me up is well, there's a couple.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
what was it that trips me up all the time?
Yeah.
The subject to object, the experience of seeing from subject and object versus it's all it what appears is the seeing itself. Like
What
I
if we
still feel a sense of a subject looking at objects
Yeah.
versus the everything in between is alive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is
what's
that
wrong? What's wrong with that? What if you unname that? What if you can't even call it anything? What if you can't label it as subject or object?
I guess it's not a problem?
Yeah.
It's just an expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's in the future. Again, there's no future. Where's the future?
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple. The there's no problem, but the seeming problem with a lot of what's being said, even what I say in my meetings and everything, is it becomes I'm trying to convey something here that's not a thought, right? And but seemingly what's out there is trying to explain something that can't be caught up as an idea. So what I try to do, although this is just a story, is I go really directly. Isn't it quite peaceful here?
Very.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just even here,
Yeah.
just kind of dying down from telling my story
Yeah. Yeah.
at the beginning of this. Yeah, very, very much.
Very direct, very simple. And all the concepts anyone has ever said, including what I said or Angelo said, just melts, right? Because it's pointless. The mind, the ego is trying to grasp something. It's just, this is just normal. This is just natural. Simple, subtle.
Okay, one thing I want to ask,
Go
because I
for it.
know
Yeah.
it will pop up. And I think intuitively I know, but why not? We're talking. So, uh, I think the shadow work of going in and acknowledging like stuff that is there, not necessarily. And I know I recognize I was going and looking, and that wasn't what it was about. But as far as um, like maybe there's a dialogue in the head about now you're not doing shadow work, you're just reveling and feeling not good, like you
Yeah.
just are going to the feeling of dis-ease and
Yeah.
kind of staying there, or no, that's what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to stay there, or maybe just dialogues around doing shadow work or stop, what are you
Yeah.
doing, like just let it go.
Yeah. Well, the way the difference, I guess, with I respect Angelo's work or other people's work in shadow work, but the way that is seen here, it's really direct. I don't even see anything, shadow or non-shadow, past or future. It's just very immediate, right? So, I used to do that too. I used to do a whole bunch, but for me, everything that has to do with work reinforces a self. It's self-focusing, self-reinforcing, self generating.
Kind of reifies
Yeah.
the thing you're
Yeah.
that just popped in my mind a few days
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Like, am I at this point? Am I
Where's the
cre-
shadow?
creating
Yeah.
more than
It's like the way that I explain this is like, when you're playing with the game of a chess of stillness, enlightenment, so to speak, right? Any movement that you make is checkmate.
Yeah, it's a movement away from.
Yeah.
And
It.
I mean, I guess just to tell you, a big part of the thoughts was just because there's so much guilt. And I did
Yeah.
tell you that what was kind of energizing
Yeah.
them. So that it's like, am I avoiding not looking at
Yeah.
something, or so maybe just like confusing stuff like that. But
Yeah. But
we're not doing self-help anymore.
no. You're beyond that. There's no self anymore. Where's the self here? There's an isness here that you can't talk about, but it's has nothing to do with anything that's ever been thought about. This is really pristine here. There's something that can't really be said. And that even saying is self is almost like an insult now, right? Because like there's this freedom here. There's this clarity here. And there's nothing wrong with self-help or no, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. it's it's not
Yeah.
dismissing that, right? Because but it sees everything. It's kind of like when you turn on all the lights, you can't seem to find the shadow that used to scare you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, something, just a funny little thing to
Go
share.
ahead. Yeah.
Uh, I was at work and it dawned on me, like, why don't I set up a meeting? And it was like, of course. And then I just felt frightened. Like,
Yeah.
what? What? Why are you, what in the world? Like, why
Yeah.
would you be frightened?
Yeah.
Um, and then I was sitting on my porch, like, so time has gone by, and the thoughts just aren't. Once I kind of scheduled the meeting, well, for one, I wasn't tripping out in all the ways that I typically would. Like,
Yeah.
I got prepared, blah blah. It's like, there's nothing to prepare for.
No, there isn't.
Um, but the thoughts just weren't uh, grabbing on as much, and it was like I had this analogy is really gross, but it's just like a light was coming on, and the thoughts, like disgusting roaches,
Yeah.
are just they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what's coming, but I don't like that
No.
light.
Yeah,
Something.
no one wants to be called out, right? No one wants to be exposed. This is just exposure that
Yeah.
a thought will just try to take you to the past or the future. When all the lights are on, like cockroaches, psh, where are they? Where is it? It's just disarming any thought that comes, right? Or any idea that seems to appear. And just being really clear about it. Basically, no more BS.
Yeah.
We get caught up in the ideas of non-duality this, non-duality that, enlightenment this is this is just, I can't even say it, see, but I know what I'm trying to say without saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have panic attacks too, so I was one of those seekers that have done everything, did copious amounts of inquiry, did shadow work,
Mm-hmm.
did at one point I was such a big believer. I was like a bhakta, like a devotion and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the Indian kind of like like the yamas and niyamas and Patanjali, and then went to Ramana and went to everything, every sages that you could think of, right? And when that was practiced like nonstop, like contemplation, meditation, 2, 3, 4 hours a day, and then I thought I got enlightened, and then I became a teacher. So when I went through the whole spectrum of it, right? So, and
Mm-hmm.
and then fell down as a teacher, and um, basically called everything as BS. And of course, I had to step down and was just really rebelling with the structure of guru and pedestals and everything. And someone kissed my feet, and I ran to the bar. You know, took a couple of
Yeah.
shots. Had a friend that was very brutal. You know what I'm saying? That's very curt and very sarcastic and just very honest. And basically said, I have a feeling you don't want this. And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't really want to be the saint, this, I'm not that really. But I'm just following all the sages in India and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then he said it's bullshit. And I'm like, it is. So you know what? He goes, you have to kill the character. So I bought a pack of smokes, started drinking, just became a complete rebel until I had to step down and exiled myself for a couple of years, went into seeking nonstop, like just all this stuff. And went into the opposite side, went into the nihilistic version of it, of
Mhm.
non-duality. There's no God, there's nothing, there's no you, there's no hope. Got severely depressed. But somehow that was better for me than the more religious aspect of it, right? It kind of like was more in alignment. And then
Mm.
at the end of it, um, even that became a belief system. So what are you between belief? What's between belief and no belief? What's between this and that? What's between, because there is a clarity here that I can't express in words. So I try my best to be just direct without any concept, without any secondhand knowledge, without anything passed on by any teachers, speakers, or gurus. And just really be,
Just
yeah,
the luminous, just the light, the luminous light
yeah.
that's lighting everything up.
That's right. Yeah.
Not nothing.
Not
Well,
nothing.
that,
Yeah.
but
Again, we can just get caught up in words. It's like when you're not speaking, when you're not thinking, it's easy to be missed because it's overlooked by overshadowing it with a lot of thoughts and thinking and all that kind of stuff and concepts about you know the mind and the self and all that kind of stuff.
this is a snapshot that will be brought up from that moment.
Yeah,
And I just remember one of the snapshots is just me just like I am the light. Like I always like how could I ever, it's so obvious.
yeah,
How could I have ever missed it?
yeah. Let's
Which I
even
guess is
clarify that a little bit. Take away the I am and it's just the light. It's just light. You will never lose it without an I, because there's no I to lose it. It sets it up right for I, because the opposite of that is I am not the light anymore, and it's just a thought. So it doesn't matter.
right.
It doesn't have an opposite. Yeah, the light without an opposite. The what do you call it? The eternal light, infinite light. We just keep on coming up. It doesn't matter, right? But you know what I'm trying to get at, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Hmm. Very,
Because
very much.
yeah, yeah. I used to have panic attacks. Like, oh my goodness, it was because I was looking for the next. And then one day, I don't know how it happened, but I just saw everything as running as it is, and almost like it was accidental. And then I was stunned. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I could not find myself because myself is just a thought. There was no I am, there's no self. But there's also no self, and there's no not I am. So everyone's playing with words, and I'm done with words. Are you?
Oh, so tired.
Yeah. Welcome to the wordless light. I like that. You never left.
Yeah. It's always obscured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so another uh, I might as well get them out while
Go for
they're
it. Go for it. Yeah.
um another snapshot that will come as it pertains to this that we're talking about, the light and thought. And I've heard people say, what does thought look like? And my mind will really get pissed and say, I can't find thought. I don't know what
Yeah.
thought looks like.
Yeah.
But during that glimpse, one of those snapshots was, as it happened, I, I can't really put into words, but it was like something was either drawn this way or that way. And it was like, oh, that was never, I thought all that. I
Yeah.
literally made up everything. And I can't tell you, like, it just seemed like
Yeah.
light. I mean, I don't know. I can't put into
Yeah.
words, but you understand what I'm
I do. I
saying? That
do.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so obvious that everything was made up by me or
Yeah.
by the thought,
That's right.
but
Yeah.
now it just became so foreign.
It is. Yeah.
So,
It's
and
almost like those like those 3D puzzles that you keep on looking at, you can't see it, and there's usually
yeah,
an outline of a butterfly. You're like, oh, there it is.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like that. So it's the opposite of that. It's like all this time you think that you were thinking, but even thinking is just a thought. There's really no one thinking or thinking even. It's just a thought. Isn't it wild? And how long has it been? 2000, you said that, when you had that panic attack, when was it that you had that first?
so I believe that was, I go by
Yeah.
measuring from sobriety around that time, and I believe it was like February 2000, January, February 2005.
Oh, wow. That's like, that's like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And then all this time you've been seeking.
Yeah, but when in like 2008, because of my wrong ideas about it, like
Yeah.
I immediately thought it was not even a subject because of how I was drinking
Yeah.
and taking, drugs, whatever. Like it's just like, and so that was part of the story. I have to get sober. I got to get clean. Because this is what I want. I still wanted it.
Yeah.
I still wanted liberation,
Yeah. Of
and
course.
I could be out of my head,
Yeah.
like, and still just intoxicated and feel like, or I remember a time like it's here now,
Yeah.
like,
It went full, it
and I
went
still
full,
want,
right? It's like as if time collapsed completely and here you are again.
and yeah, so I grew a bunch of mushrooms because I had read about John Hopkins
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and how those helped with addiction.
Yeah.
So I grew mushrooms and did all that to help quit drinking,
Yeah.
um, and I did for a while. But anyway, that was a big part of the story. Like I say that because it was like the search was like automatically called off due to substance abuse or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't know anything about what a kin show or first awakening. So up until recently, up until probably 2021, you see, I would always think, oh, Eckhart, like I hear what you're saying. That's great for those people that want this awakening. I've had it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
lost it. I got to get it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And so up until 2021, it was like I started seeing people say, oh, there's an initial awakening. This is a common thing you have to go through, or it can heal back up, blah, blah, blah. Sorry to bore you with that, but just
Oh,
a
no,
little
no, no, no,
background.
no. I like it. I like it. I like stories. Yeah.
And I think there was just so much suppressed and repressed anger
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
being a people pleaser that in 2021, when it was off alcohol, Xanax, the world seems to go on fire. I was
Yeah.
on fire
Yeah.
with it. And it's just really recently, like I said, like I feel like, oh, I wonder if this is what a normal person feels like.
Yeah.
Just the thoughts, but not going crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
And one thing that did happen was I woke up in the morning, since I was doing the direct, trying to be more direct.
yeah,
It was always every morning, Groundhog's Day. Here I am. Let me go sit down. There's a person here. And I
yeah,
got up and I was like, the thought was doing the normal planning, the day, the
yeah.
blah, blah. And I was like, that's a thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a person that came in through the night
No,
and
no.
lost it.
Yeah,
And so that was, to me, like, I know it's not like progress or no progress, but like I was able to have that space to finally say,
yeah, yeah,
no, that's not a person that needs to get up and do this. That's a thought.
yeah, 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 yeah. I don't even see. I don't even I guess with this clarity, right? I don't even see. It's hard to explain, but I don't even see a thought as a thought anymore.
What do you have a comment on what does a thought look like? Like
I don't
what?
even use that question. It
Oh,
doesn't make sense.
oh, it doesn't.
No, no, no.
Have I taken to a pointer what does thought look like and taken it literally like I'm supposed to? Because I'll use that snapshot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
I
yeah,
did see something,
yeah.
but where is that something?
For
It,
for
that,
me,
it-
for me, I'm not giving it any importance. So I usually ask what's between a thought and no thought. Because the moment that you think of a thought as a thought, then you have just reinforced another thought of how it should look like or whatever, right? So I go a little bit more directly, more more.
okay.
It's like I try to use stuff that people don't use because the characters easy to adapt to what a speaker or a teacher is saying. And I noticed this
Mhm.
people repeating the stuff that I was saying. I'm like, oh no, 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 please don't repeat what I say. That kind of thing. Don't
Yeah.
believe in anything that I say, right? Because um yeah, it's hard to explain, but you see what I'm trying to get at, right? Because
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's so yeah, it's it's wild. I love doing this. I love doing this. I love seeing people see through clarity without words, without concepts, without meanings, without ideas, without anything passed on or because I did not pass this on to you. Something clicked there. Something kind of like dormant that's always been there, but not even dormant because it's just an idea. Have you done any other kind of like one-on-ones or inquiries or whatever in the past, or this is your first time?
So I had reached out to Angelo and he said this was this was about a year and
Yeah,
about a year and a half. And he said he didn't have any openings, but
yeah.
he could recommend. And he did. So I did a one-on-one with I she may be in Toronto. Chris Gumond.
Oh,
I
I
don't
think
know.
she's, I don't know her, but she's in Montreal, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And so really through that one-on-one was kind of getting the confirmation of what that happened
yeah,
um
yeah.
and
Are you in Canada, Mark?
no, I'm in Florida.
Oh, you're in
I'm in
Florida.
Orlando.
Oh, nice. Okay, okay, nice.
Um
That's why it's
and
super
you
sunny there.
it's I don't know how can you see okay? Is there too
Yeah.
much
Oh
glare?
yeah, no, no, it's okay. It's perfect. Yeah.
And yeah, it was a nice experience. I honestly I just felt happy and as strange as that may sound, I had never been happy in so long.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just happy to finally be able to meet with somebody. So leading up to the one-on-one, even though it didn't go well, my computer camera didn't work and I had to use my phone, but it was just
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah,
And and then afterwards, I was just happy to get that confirmation. So for a couple of weeks, it was just that I wasn't. It was the absence of anxiety and
hmm
depression because the anxiety would just be kind
Oh
of
yeah,
constant.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, And I actually felt, hey, if I don't even get liberated, if I can just be happy like this, I'll be
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But, and that's true. But of course, like that wears off, and then the thoughts come
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Groundhog's Day.
You just made it into a thing.
You what say again?
You made it into a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's in the calling it, naming it, believing it, doubting it, any of those, right? Just creates kind of like becomes kind of like bookends of the infinite that does not have any endings or beginnings. Alpha and Omega, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. I like it when people usually have this sessions. You've noticed it too in the videos. People look around. It's like an
Oh
insight.
yeah.
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 Someone sent me a video of her watching my video and then her reaction to the video. She said something's coming, so she just pressed record and her facial expressions, just looking around, and I can hear my voice, happening in the video, right? Because she's filming her reaction. She said, "I'm afraid of this video by Emerson, so I'm gonna play it." And it was like a 30 minutes, and then yeah, without even, and then she messaged me afterwards. She said, "It's over. It's over." She didn't even book a one-on-one. It was just a video. And I think you sense that in a video too. You're like, what the hell is going on here? Right? It's like,
Well, yes. So watching, I don't know a recent one you did with Johnny or who it was, but you mentioned, and it was the first time I had ever heard. Well, actually, it was right from the get-go when you asked him, "What are your beliefs now?"
yeah, I
I
asked
was
you this.
just pretending like I'm part of the. You're asking me, like, what are
Yeah,
my? Um, but that was when you said, "What is in between a belief and no belief or
yeah,
disbelief?" And my mind just kind of like without without effort, just kind of like there, yeah.
yeah, yeah. The
And
seeker
I
is
kind
quite,
of keep going to that.
yeah, the seeker is quite cunning. It adapts to ideas and concepts, right? So, but when you does give it no place to land on, then it collapses. It collapses. It's like you know what I'm saying? All you have to do is trip the ego using the ego.
You have do you say trip?
Trip the ego using the ego.
Yeah, trip.
So
Yeah,
what's your belief? So the ego is like, well, you know what? It will come up with some answer from the apparent ego, of course. But when you go kind of like, well, what's in between that and this then? And that belief completely falls apart. You don't even know it. Then all of a sudden there's this clarity. You're like, what the hell? It loses its grip, right? Because it's just a grip.
yeah,
Yeah. I just did a earlier today. I did a 2-hour one-on-one. Some people like the longer sessions, and
mm-hmm.
the person held on until like 1:55, was just like going back and forth, going back and forth. And I said, well, what do you believe again? Just let it all ramble, so because I kind of had a
Yeah,
feeling that if this person booked 2 hours, they think they have a long fight to do, right? So
uh-huh.
you feed the ego to death drop the ego, basically. So they just kept on going and going, 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 going. And I'm like, okay, all right, okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you know what? I held on to that question until the last moment. 1:55, like 5 minutes before the end of the session, basically everything collapsed. He goes, oh my goodness, everything that I've told you is just a story, isn't it? I'm like, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. And he goes, and I believe my stories. That's why I booked this 2 hours, right? I'm like, yep. You let it be, you know what I'm saying? It's not like
yeah,
trying to correct it, trying to quiet it, because the moment that you work with it, then You're just basically, feeding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was not overwhelmingly like typical how it typically would be in the past, but um I could feel that uh like just dialogue in the head of what to bring up, what not to bring up, because
Yeah.
I already have this understanding of this, but then it's like, no, you don't. You
Yeah.
have
No,
this thought
I
of
I
an
usually say
understanding.
that. I'm like, you know what?
I
But
don't
that's why I
know.
ask, what do you believe, right? Because it's like you almost set yourself up. You're like, well, you know what? I've gone far already. You know what? I've already done a lot of work, Emerson. And
Yeah.
I've worked with this person and this person. So yeah, you know what? I'm there already. You just need to say yes, you are. But you don't engage in that basically, right? Because it's just you just read anything that self. It's almost like the self will maintain the self by reinforce any self-focused activities, right? So this one basically was it's like, you know what, this one was more of like the self booked this, and it got scared because, oh shit, it's going to be, the gig is up basically, right? So
Mhm.
the gig is up.
And that's how it felt here
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
when I mean, and totally not expecting it, but also at the same, well, at first, fear is fear. So you respond to like, fuck.
yeah,
But then it was like, well, there's obviously something that I'm not aware of.
yeah,
Like, and it's the truth probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, no one is aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to someone and it was so wild, right? Because um this person came from kind of like more of a community where there was a leader and everything. So a lot of religious beliefs and everything. And had a clarity for one moment, but the that devotee came right away and said, oh, I see nothing but light. You're light. He goes, you are Buddha. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's just a belief. That's just a belief. Right? Let's go back into some clarity. He was crying and crying, crying. And we had another session today because he was convinced I was the Buddha. So he told everybody that I met the Buddha. And I'm like, oh, no, no, you'll kill me. You'll kill me. You know what
Yeah.
they say, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
there's, and then the day is like, oh, I sobered up from that. He goes, how quick was I to go into another belief system? And I'm like, yeah, right. So it's built between a belief and no belief. And that's what cleared him up. It's like, okay, all right. Yeah. It's a very cunning, it's a very tricky, it's like well played. Illusion is well played. It's like it's smart. You know what I'm saying? It's smart because it it hides in knowledge, but knowledge is the veil. It hides in words, but the word is the veil. If you take away the
I like
words, all the beliefs, all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom, then there's just,
that the knowledge and the words are the veil.
yeah,
That is the veil.
yeah. And then if you go into teachings, everybody's just talking about the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil.
Well, that's the first time I've ever heard that
Yeah,
said it like that. Like that
yeah,
is the veil.
yeah. And everyone thinks that they know the veil by calling it like the absolute, or awareness or consciousness or nothing, everything. But everyone's just talking in veils. And it's okay. And it's funny, right? Because when you see that the words are veils, there's almost nothing to talk about.
Yeah. I I mean, the mind is just wondering, like, what will be interacting with someone after this?
Yeah. It always tries to go to the next to make it relevant, if you notice it. And it tries to drag the past to make it relevant. So it will attempt. It will attempt. You know what I'm saying? It will keep on trying. Again, I always say this in my talks. Reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Einstein. So the genius of the illusion is it's very persistent. And that's why, that's why you get caught up in it. Every single word that we say is illusory. Every single word that is mentioned here is made up. So how can you not see that everything is made up, because all of the words that are being used is masking, veiling everything as reality. But without the word reality, what's even this? So I usually say clarity without words. The words always get in the way.
Yeah, I
You say, on a clear day, you can see forever. I like that actually. On a
yeah.
clear day. My age is showing. I know. I know all of these old songs.
You're a DJ, yeah?
I do. Yeah,
The
I do. Yeah, I do. What do you do, Mark?
um well, right now I'm a caregiver.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm
I
part
was I
part
was in
time
the
too. I'm a part time for my mom anyway. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was for years in the uh applied behavior analysis,
Oh
working with
wow.
people with autism,
Oh
persons
wow.
with disabilities and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Um and now I just work for a single home
Oh, good,
um
good. Yeah, yeah,
family,
yeah.
and it's very quiet, um
Oh, nice.
calm.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a lot of respect for caregivers because I became one accidentally when luckily there was already this quietness here, right? Because there was no resistance to it. It was like, okay, you know what? That's cool.
yeah.
Because there's no more chatter, right? It's kind of like my dad asked me, he goes, do you want to stay and help out a little bit with your mom? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know where the answer came from, but yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. And this is just what I like about this. And again, this is just a story. It's the humility of it. It doesn't claim to be right. It doesn't, it doesn't put anyone wrong. It's just quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
that was just what a lot of the in the last 4 or 5 years was just about being right.
Yeah.
And I would easily say, do you want to be right or do you want to be at peace? And it was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
didn't matter. Like, but it feels like
Yeah.
has died down.
Yeah. Well, it's dead already.
Or it's not even
It's, yeah.
insignificant.
It is. Yeah. And there are, what, there's people that call me up after like a year, of this kind of stuff. They're like, and they'll say some beautiful things like, no one's really here anymore. things are just coming and going seemingly, but there's something that never really changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I felt that probably in my teens
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
Because I always had expectations of what I would be like as an adult or as I got older. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, something is the exact same. No matter how much schooling I've gone through, whatever life lessons, something is still the exact same.
Yeah.
And I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't know what it is, but it doesn't have to be known. Something's always exactly the same thing.
Have we gone over our time? Are we
Not
okay?
yet. We're okay. We're
Okay.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, sometimes, you know what, when, because it happens very quickly sometimes, right? You've seen some of those videos. It's like, it's like that Johnny guy that was quick. Maybe around the same time as you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there was another person that was like an hour and 55 minutes of like wrestling basically. And I'm like, okay, all right. It's just sometimes the story has to come out to see the irrelevance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone has to be, blurted out. Right. So it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had that monologue dialogue about the story so
Yeah.
much. I can't stand it. I hate my story that I wanted to tell or
Yeah.
that was going on. It's just
I had
ugh.
a I had a meeting on, I do a regular kind of like a Sunday meetings, at like 2 o'clock. And I basically said, are you guys not sick of doing this? Are you not sick of hearing the same thing over and over again? Right? Are you
Mhm.
not sick of hearing this, or whatever, whatever, or already the case, or this is it and everything, right? So
Uh-huh.
because that becomes the new mantra now for the seeker, right? This is it. It's just this, simply this. Um, and they don't even know it, but that became the new belief system.
Well, when I heard you talking to Angelo, you said something like 3 or 4 times. It was something that I had heard before, but each time you said it, it was just like just I don't know, registering, and all you were saying was it's already the case.
Yeah, yeah,
It's already the case. And like each time you would say it, it was just like,
yeah.